Welcome back to Mindful Matters podcast, episode number 18. It is good to have you. It's always fun to have you visiting back. And I'm here with my co-host, Richard. My name is Oresztesz, and I welcome you back. If you keep coming back to these, there is something that you find that is able to help you in your daily life. I hope we continue to go on with that tradition and share some very interesting and very practical tips with you today. My name is Oresztesz. You can find me on Less Anxiety Today, the YouTube channel, Less Anxiety Today on Facebook. And if for some reason you're listening to this and you know me through speaking Spanish, well, you can also find me as Hypnoterapia Murgacs. As always, I am here with my amazing co-host, Richard Haggerty. It is so much fun to have you yet again on today's call. And you can find Richard pretty much everywhere. Go ahead, Richard. Where are the best places for people to follow you so they can pick up a little bit more of these awesome wisdom nuggets you keep dropping?
That's really kind, Oresztesz. Look, you've got the contact details will be below this video here, but you can hook up with me on Twitter or LinkedIn or on Facebook. And if you're interested in a coaching program or you're interested in breaking through in any particular area, then and you want to have a consultation or chat about that in any way, I'm very happy to do that. As indeed is Oresztesz. So it's lovely to be here again. And I'm really excited to dive in today.
Awesome. Well, right before the show, we were just catching up a little bit about what are the fun things happening in our lives. And we had a very interesting training over the weekend. That was dipping my toes a little bit in the waters of teaching and in a more formal setting, and I'm glad to say I'm quite happy. Of course, I have to give credit where credit's due. I had an amazing group of assistants helping me out, other trainers who are also learning, and we had a fantastic group as well. I mean, either we did a really good job of magnetizing the right people, or we were just very lucky. But it was awesome. What do you have going on, Richard? Anything that maybe our listeners could be interested in?
Yeah, well, I mean, at the moment I'm doing so. We've just done the Universal Study System masterclass, which we talked about a bit last week. So that's available on the Selfie store, and there's a link to that down the bottom. And we had a really nice time in that. And actually, what was interesting was the group really liked the fact that we had a really simple, easy to follow 3-step process. So in the model that I'm presenting this month, which is perception altering language, which we'll be doing at the end of February, we're going to dive in there how to use advanced language patterns. We're going to take people through a real simple process that's going to take them right from old school mesmerism through the core of why that works, right through to the power that can come through in your voice and how to use your body, so that by the time you even come to use any language patterns, it's going to be so much easier for people. In fact, it'll be so easy that any other course they do, they'll be able to slot that in really simply. They'll know why it works, they'll know how it works, and they'll be able to do that very easily. So I'm really looking forward to that, because I had to simplify. I find that the best way to learn things is to simplify them down to real core essence, the core principles, which you cannot distill really any further down from. Once you get to those absolute cores, then that makes life a lot easier for people. And that's really how I've had to learn anything. And so so that's really the focus this month, and it has been a real journey.
Simplifying.
Yes.
That sounds like that sounds a little bit like foreshadowing. So yes. I have a sense that this idea of simplifying things, just really boiling it down to, just what needs to happen, making sure that you really are aware of what is just one step that you can take. It sounds like it is part of your course as well.
Yes.
Only take one step at a time. I mean, it's I don't know how many legs would we need to be able to safely take 2, 3, 4, even just 2 steps at the same time.
Yes. Yes. Well, you're right, Oresztesz. And look, and this is a kind of almost like a distinction between kind of the list, the to-do list, and doing, and all the things you think you need to be to do, and then the action that you can take right now. Because here's the thing: let's say you've got something you want to have happen or make happen. All right. If you are oriented to what that's going to look like and what that's going to feel like, you're going to feel a certain way. You're going to feel probably inspired. You're going to feel excited, interested, curious. And then there will be one simple, basic, obvious thing to do that will start to move you in that direction. And there will only be one that you can do at a time. And that one thing that's there, it just needs to be taken within that context. And in a way, it's really, really simple. We all overcomplicate things by adding extra stuff to it and extra things that we think need to be there. So really what I've been trying to do is simplify that down so that I have less things to teach. There's less things for people to hold in their mind, but they're the core things that will empower them, the core kind of principles that they need to bear in mind. But it's very much the same with moving towards outcomes as well. When you are holding the intention of how you want it to be, not your intention on all the things you think you need to do to get there, then, well, when the next thing comes along, you can just do that. And you can do that in a fairly relaxed way. And maybe it works out well. Maybe it doesn't work out so well. Maybe nothing really changes. But it's only going to be one of those 3 things. I think it's slightly worse, slightly better, or stays the same. And then, well, then you just feed it back into that. So that idea has been very, very useful for me because it means there's much less cognitive load of trying to hold things in mind. Rather than big lists, you can keep it, really simplify things down.
Wonderful. Yeah, just thinking about something simplified like this, it already allows your mind to relax. And the curious thing is, most of the things that require no activation energy are things that are simple. They may be complex. They may involve a number of steps, like driving, which can be a very complex activity. But there is no internal fighting about how to do it or what to do or what might happen and what could go wrong and what are all the things. When that happens, that's when I usually see a person as a client in my office. When they start to overcomplicate things like driving, when they start to remember the times when it didn't work out very well for them, or begin to worry about, what if some kind of an accident happens. And instead of rolling that energy into actual cautious driving or a way in which they can focus that energy for their benefit, they might very well end up completely blocking themselves. It's really interesting. I just had a conversation with my son who kind of let himself end up in that situation in his sports, and it was a little bit of an unfortunate timing because it kind of, another tendency that we have is kind of bottle up things and try to work things out on our own, go to the end of our own resources until we either find a solution, and then it's so much more valuable because we figured it out, or it becomes kind of a problem and we know that we need to ask for help. So he got to that point where it has become a problem. So now there is an additional little drawback that he needs to face, which is, time is up. He hasn't been able to pull off one of the moves that he needs to present, and which means now he is going to have to do like a 5-year-old's routine, which is, I'm guessing, a bit of an exaggeration, given his knowledge and experience. But yeah. So and the interesting thing is that what you're talking about is, it really comes to the point where anybody that feels blocked, in my experience, is trying to do one too many extra things that have no relevance, that will not improve the execution of the problem or the solution. It will not make things better. It can make things more complicated, and it can end up completely blocking the person trying to do any task, basically.
Yeah, agreed. It's interesting. This weekend I went and we do so all across the UK, and quite the same as a lot of countries in the world, they'll do park runs that they organise on the weekend, and so anyone can turn up for them. And this time there were 200 people there, so I'm there with my son who's 12, and I run it as well. And I was chatting with some people beforehand, and some of the people that were one guy in particular is very concerned about his time. You know, he said, I always keep an eye on my time, and if I don't get this time, then the rest of my day, man, I'm going to feel bad. And I was like, and I don't really care. So I'm just there, I relax, I stretch. And I just really think, you know what? The sun is out with my son and with 200 people. I'm just going to enjoy this. And I ran. And as it turned out, and the sun was there and I was enjoying it. And, you know, and then a little bit further on, I increased my pace a little bit. And in the end, I got the best time I've ever done for it. And my son did as well. And he came about a minute and a half before me. He just like flew over the line. But the thing is, when you take out all the steps, all the things that you know, the should we say the you mentioned before about the stress, you know, the kind of the stress that comes from all those extra things, and it causes physical stress and contraction of the body. It causes, you know, headaches for people. It causes you know, I had one client who got so stressed about meeting relatives and social groups that he'd just get headaches the whole time, because he'd be contracting, he'd be worried about it, he'd be thinking about, what do I say? What if I don't know this topic? What if I don't know that topic? And exactly like you say, we're really just clearing things out, keep it simple and straightforward. And once you can get to that space, once you can train yourself to do that, which is what we do with the hypnosis, what we do with our hypnosis programs, what we do with coaching, is to teach people to get to that place. Then you can take what you need to do. You'll still need to do things. But you want to do things. We want to have nice experiences in life. We want to be with other people, but we do it from a place without all the inner constraints, the inner tension. And so a lot of the times it is just about finding what are the points of friction and blocks that I'm adding to this in my thinking, in my habits, in just what I'm adding to my list, that perhaps I don't need to have that, or perhaps could be broken down into smaller steps, or that I could have smaller steps where I celebrate, you know, as I'm going.
Absolutely. So, and there is a very important point that you mentioned that I really think deserves a big bunch of highlight paint splashed over it. And that is, it is really hard to do worse than how you do things. It requires effort. Your running story, I think, beautifully demonstrates that when you just don't even really care about something, you're enjoying it, you care about enjoying it, you care enough to participate, you care enough to show up, you care enough to be there, but you're not worried about the result, then you naturally have a tendency to improve. Just like this time that you even improved your time. It, in fact, is, if you don't care about the result, it's very hard to do things wrong. In fact, we It's quite the opposite. We like to challenge ourselves naturally when we are engaging in the same thing.
Mm.
It's when you worry about not doing well enough, you can only possibly worry about a fantasy enough. The word enough is a fantasy. Because whatever you will do if you remove all of the worry is your best.
Mm.
Now, you might not be happy with where your best is currently, but then that's an issue of acceptance and self-awareness and recognizing, sometimes just forgiving yourself or understanding that, you might have had certain challenges along the way. You did not have it easy. You had a lot of this tripping yourself up kind of thinking, or you weren't aware of this kind of thinking before, and you might not have progressed as much as you wish, or you might be comparing yourself to others who obviously are going to be missing some of the things your life has and have other things that your life does not. So the only possible way for what you do to be not enough is if you create this artificial, incorrect category of what enough is.
Mm.
There is no way for you to do worse than your best. No, there is. But you have to do all the work. You have to do a lot of worrying and stressing. Otherwise, you will just do naturally what your best is. In fact, try it. Do something that you enjoy already. Let's say you play the guitar. Try to play worse than how you already know. I guarantee you it's going to be torture and actually difficult. Try to even just stay on the same level that you know. And immediately another feeling is going to kick in, which is boredom, which is just feeling like you're not growing, and you kind of naturally want to do something better.
Yeah, agreed. It's really interesting, actually, and I think it's very strong. You mentioned there about this idea of enough, Oresztesz, when you were talking about that, and this really, I think that's it. It's what you're saying there about, you know, to try and do your worst. It's so true. This idea of enough, it's been so powerful because for me and even the clients I've worked with, I noticed there were a lot of people who were saying, well, I want more money, or I want to earn this, or I want to have more success in this area, quite often engaged by a certain amount of finances. And oftentimes, I mean, some of those people, let me tell you, already had, 200,000 or 500,000 pounds coming in, or, they had 1 million, but they wanted more. And it was really, really interesting because obviously there's only a certain amount of money that you can spend and invest and do with stuff. And then I would say to people, well, okay, what would you like to do? Well, I'd like to see my family and go away for a weekend. Okay, well, what would that do if you want? I would just enjoy the companionship and being with them. Boom. Well, let's go and schedule. What do you need to do that? Oh, well, I'm like, what could your task, what you need? They'll start coming up with a list of things. So I'd say, no, like, you want to go and spend some time with them and have this connection. What could be the next thing that you could do right now? Oh, I could send one of them a message and say, are you free this weekend? Right. And and it's so simple, but as we started bringing those things out, the overall emphasis of, oh, I want to have more time with my family, I want to have more time with my friends, I want to be able to go and do more physical activities outdoors. Those things were well within the means of most people, and it was the sense of the feeling of connection, the feelings that they would have with that they wanted. That when they had those, it was more than enough. It was like overflowing, and so it's really important to build that in, because exactly like you say, that idea of enough, it becomes really, really important, because otherwise, conceptually, people can get very stuck with, well, I haven't made enough money, I haven't made enough success, I haven't done this right enough. And actually, when you drill down to what it will do for them, usually, or very, well, in fact, eventually you will get to a point where there is a feeling that they want, an experience that they want to have, and a kind of an emotional experience. And once we can tap into that, once we can get that, well, it just, the stress goes, and you know what you need to do right now to move yourself in that direction is more than enough and straightforward, and usually very, very obvious.
Very much so. And if it isn't, there is a very powerful strategy that you can use. I remember just very recently, I had one of my favorite clients come to my office. An entrepreneur that has taken his father's company from X to X amount of worth to 100X within a few years, and has taken it over. An awesome guy, very intelligent, and he hit his own point of blockage where he started to worry a little too much, put a little too much pressure on himself, and that's where we came in, and we took one of his projects as a specific example, which is always a good idea. Work with something very specific when you're trying to work through something that represents a problem. When you say, yeah, I procrastinate a lot, or I do this all the time, I'm depressed. No. Go with something very, very specific. So we picked opening a new place that he was debating and didn't know exactly what to do. So the strategy that we apply, that I recommend and you can do on your own, is, okay, so here is what I know I want. If you do, this applies in these situations. I want to open a new branch. Okay, so what are the things that need to happen before you can do that? Well, as soon as the legal team is done, as soon as this guy gives me the authorization, it is going to be in conjunction with whatever. But this thing it has a number of specifications that I don't meet, so I kind of need. No, wait. Okay, legal team. Your partner's permission, and another 2 or 3 details. Awesome. How about these? Okay, it seems like out of 4, 3 seem to be pretty straightforward. Seems like you have a problem specifically here with this not meeting certain specifications. Okay, what needs to happen for those imperfect specifications to be accepted? Well, I need to write an email. Oh, perfect. Okay, one step back. Awesome. What needs to go into that email? Well, I need to tell him that I have these measurements, everything else is fine, and this and this and this and this. Good. Okay, so what do you need to have those measurements very specifically? Oh, I need to go there, drive over, and measure some things. Wonderful. So this whole project that's been floating in your mind for months, and you don't take action on it, and you know that you should be doing a number of things, and you have taken a number of things, because the reason for which number 1, 3, and 4 are already taken care of is because you have been moving. It's just basically you're stuck on this one thing. So can you pick up a measuring tape or whatever that is and go drive over? Yes. Once you have those measurements, everything precisely written down exactly how you want it, can you write about that in an email? Yes. Once you have that email, can you send that? Yes. Awesome. And the procrastination there was just completely gone. So you can do, the strategy here is look at your outcome. It's probably not going to be the final absolute outcome. Oh my goodness, my video just decided to to do a bit of dance, it says, no, you cannot, you don't want to. It was actually a video representation of what happens in your brain when you go into a little bit of overthinking. So all you need is take the outcome and work backwards from it. When could you, with everything you have here, when can you move on to this step? And then make that list, and then do the exact same thing for every single item. If there has been more, had there been more points on his list that he needed to take action on, then we would have, okay, that's wonderful. Now, what does the legal team need? Before they can say, okay, everything is done. Oh, they need this. What needs to happen for this? And you keep taking the steps backwards until you end up with something so easy and so specific that there is just zero doubt in your mind that you can do it.
Yeah, and I really like that, Oresztesz. So I think that's a beautiful example. And I think it's a really good one to for anyone listening to really think about, maybe something that they do want to have happen, however small it is. And then, think backwards, from that, well, what would need to happen for that to be there? And this kind of what we call it's almost like teleological thinking, where you're beginning with the end in mind. It's really powerful. And you can work your way back, or you can either work your way back step by step sequentially from one step backwards at a time from the end. A little bit like that film Memento. You kind of start one place and then you kind of go backwards and backwards a little bit and backwards a little bit, and it opens up. Or you can just say, okay, what's one small thing I might want to do that could move me in that direction? I want to go away with my family somewhere. Okay. Well, maybe we could just have a chat about what dates we might be free and come up with a list of dates, or, there could be lots of things you can do, but once you break it down like that, and I think I just want to draw attention to one more thing that you said that I think is golden here, Oresztesz, and I think that when people say things like I'm anxious or I'm depressed or I'm worried or I'm overwhelmed, once you break it down and you get them to contextualize it, and you start thinking about a specific time or a specific situation or something that's going on, exactly like you did in that example, you flush out what it means. Because procrastination, these things, words like procrastination, anxiety, free-floating anxiety, they're just concepts. There's no real scientific reality to them. Why? Because there's no null hypothesis. You can't demonstrate it really not existing. Okay, because it's just an abstraction. It's just a generality, if you will. Whereas when you pick a particular situation, what you'll find is that there will be some particular part of that. Could be a person, could be a place, could be a specific activity that will be causing the feeling inside. And that's where we can really come and help you. That's where we can help people change, because now we can change that feeling. It's attached to the particular activity, and we can help you to change that. And if you want to break that block yourself, then the step back from that is to just say, okay, how could I break this task down? Or what help would I need? Or who could help me? Or how can I break it down to smaller tasks so that it feels much more achievable? But that's really golden, and I think it's a really important point to consider, that when you have something specific, sensory rich, that you can focus on, well, now you can start moving forward in a place of magic. Now you can start to imagine the way that you want things to be in this particular area. You can imagine how you will be being, what kind of person you'll be becoming, and how you'll be feeling when you are like that. And from that place, it's a lot more fun, it's a lot more enjoyable. You have that playful experience that we talked about, like with the running, where you want to enjoy it. You want to give your most, you want to bring the most of yourself to that situation. You want to inspire other people. You want them to be inspired by you. You want everyone to have a good time. but the energy that you bring it's a fun, it's a more playful one. It's one that is very grounded physically with your senses in the moment and the environment. And well, then you can experience some magic.
Absolutely. And I hope you, our listener, will choose to experience your life much more as magic instead of any sort of struggle. I hope you will use the idea of very clear outcomes, as we have discussed before, a lot of acceptance and kindness to yourself, and working your way back until you find just the most simple but specific steps that you can take so you can move forward and achieve as much success in your life as you choose to invest your time into. I hope you will have a fantastic time with this. And of course, if you haven't so far, make sure that you are subscribed. Make sure that you like our video so it can reach more people. And thank you for sticking around. Thank you for staying to the end. That is the absolute best thing that you can do for our show. Thank you, and hope to see you around next time. Take care.
Cheers. Thank you. Bye bye.